Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Wasatch First Podcast. We have some of our friends here from the Wellness Center and LiveHannahsHope as well. Good friends of mine, Laura Warburton and Chase Warburton. You're not going to want to miss this episode, and we want to give a special thanks to Peachy Atomic and Eric Lichtenberg, as well as my friend Dalton Granger with Morph Marketing. You're going to look forward to this. Welcome, everyone. So super excited to have you. We just had a mom moment here with Laura Warburton, where I've known Laura and Chase for years. Chase and I literally go back to the Snowcrest days
back to junior high.
Oh man, the Stay Gold Pony Boy days.
Oh my goodness.
And Laura was sitting here looking at how hairy and how wrinkly I've gotten, and started getting all what happened to Eli? He's all grown up. So really excited to have you guys on here. Both you and your family have been an inspiration in my life. So before we start, I just personally want to thank you for the work that you guys have done in the community up in the Ogden Valley, but how that's outreached in the state of Utah. It's been awesome to see. And I know you guys have been through a lot of loss. And so it's cool to see the resilience that you have and how you've transitioned that loss into such powerful momentum. So thank you guys very much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, thanks for coming, guys. I appreciate it. Just having the talk before this and just seeing the way you've interacted with Elijah and all of us, just so welcoming and fun, and you just hit it, really happy and just always like that. And so it's hard to understand like how you've gone through such hard things, and yet you really are positive in the outcomes you do right now. So I mean, even talking to my wife, like she, so many people in the valley, that small town valley feel. Talking with Chase earlier about it, it's very similar. And I love that. Like, you just know, like, you're like, what house? Where are you at? Like, what house do you live in? Which side of the road? And you just know.
It's the meets and bounds system up there in the valley, because no one knows an address up there.
No, you just know that direction. You're right by the school on the right side. We've got
Valley
the big
Market.
Yeah, sometimes you even describe it by like what's in the people's yards. It's like, if you go down the way, there's the waterfall, there's at least 2 dogs, and then there's a cow sitting in the front yard. And that's who we're talking. And most people be like, oh yeah, those people. Yeah.
So we lived there was the little Hobbit house up in Eden. Do you ever see the Hobbit house?
I did.
Yeah, so Mrs. Bullock, you knew how to get to so Cameron was one of my buddies growing up. So you ever hung out with him. It's like, well, yeah, if you just take a right turn at the Hobbit house. I'm like, Hobbit house? And there's this full decked out, probably $100,000 Hobbit house in Eden, Utah.
Take the right at the Hobbit house,
Just one of the most cool and beautiful places. So Dalton always shares this when we open the podcast, but the purpose is to really unveil who's behind the logo, right? So who's behind the logo of LiveHannahsHope and the Wellness Center, and hear more about the stories of Chase Warburton and Laura Warburton and everything that has inspired you guys. So let's start with that. Tell us a little bit more about how did the Wellness Center get started, and how did we get to here?
Okay, so we've been having lots of fun, but I may get a little teary.
Okay.
So it was 9 years ago. In June, it'll be 10 years ago. And Hannah, who was a spunky, wonderful young lady who loved to wrestle and would take down the boys outside by the fire pit, and I'd walk out there and watch her as I'd hear all this rumbling going on, and I'd go out, and there she was wrestling with some guy, and then she'd pin him, and then I would say, what took you so long? I mean, that's really what...
So to give you guys some context, back when I used to run around in high school with some friends, we'd have 10 or 12 guys up, and we'd do fight nights around the fire. And my sister Hannah, because that's who we're talking about, would come out, and she'd just start looking at us wrestling, and she'd start like critiquing us because she was, she did a lot of karate and mixed martial arts and stuff. And one of the guys was like, all right, let's see what you got. And she kicked his butt. And then that's where Mom, that's what she's talking
there on
about.
The porch, and all I could say is, what took you so long, honey? Anyway, that poor kid. But Hannah had one too many concussions, and we didn't really understand what was happening. But when we look back after her death, after she died by suicide, we realized that she was born not breathing. That was a concussion. She had hit her head on the ground like so many kids do, and stitches in her front lobe, that, and then just one thing after another, the concussions. And then we realized that she had been having seizures her whole life, and we didn't recognize that either because the doctors didn't recognize it. So by the time she had one last car accident, and within 18 months, her entire personality changed, and she went from happy. Well, she always struggled a little bit. She always had some depression and anxiety and wanting to be perfect, but she had so much resilience, you know.
Mhm.
She ran for school office and missed the first year, ran the next year and got in, you know, and that's just who she was. And she was kind to everybody. And she helped me at the Capitol. We passed several bills together.
Wow.
Mhm.
She actually testified. She was actually on our, we're Republican.
Yeah.
Don't hold that against us.
No, that's okay. That's okay. We're a safe
A safe place.
This is a safe,
So
safety zone.
she actually was the vice chair for the youth for that group for the state.
Wow.
We did a whole bunch of things together. She was dynamic. She was powerful. She had an opinion. She was tough. And now I realize that the reason why she did so well was just because she tried so hard. You know, it was like maybe somebody who's in a wheelchair, they may not be able to run the race, but they can get themselves in that wheelchair and they can push and they can go fast and they can win the race. But it's just a little different. It takes a little different skills. So when she started to really struggle after that last car accident, we did everything that we knew how.
Mhm.
And concussion wasn't really understood back then. It was before the movie Concussion came out. It was basically just, you know, get up and keep going, you know, and in 2
Yeah.
weeks, everything is fine if you're not throwing up, you know. But now we know so much more. So she just went downhill and it got worse and she had to be home in hospital. That means that she had to go to school at home and have a tutor come in. She couldn't remember things. She couldn't remember. She would tell the same stories over and over again. And she was embarrassed by that. It was really hard on her. And she cared what people thought a lot. And then so in order to stop the pain, you know, she was cutting at that point. And then also started using drugs to numb the pain. And I'm an alcoholic and an AA baby. You know, I'm the baby of the AA program. And so I understood that. I wasn't upset with her. I just said, okay, if you're doing this, then there's got to be a reason that you're in pain. And we would talk about it. And she really, truly tried to figure things out. And in her final note, she said, if I have to live this way the rest of my life, I don't want to. I'd rather be dead. And then she said what ended up being the most powerful statement that so many people feel. She said, everybody would be better off without me if I weren't here. And she really felt that. And that's how everybody that I've ever spoke with that is suicidal has the same feelings. And it's not true. It's just not true. You just feel so alone and so dark. And so after she left, after she died, I had a choice. I could either not talk about it. I could try and hide it. I could do all the things that she did. And at her funeral and at her viewing, I realized how many people would have helped if they had known. And that's what they said. So I started right away, let's talk about it. And doing because of, not what if. Obviously, I had to learn. Obviously, I was not going to let my daughter die of suicide and not learn a lesson, right? Obviously, there were things I could have done better. And so I did. I looked at those things, but I recognized too that I did the very best I knew how. And that was the grace I gave to myself. And that enabled me to move forward. And it wasn't easy. You know, resilience is not easy. It's work. And so I was kind of forced into starting a nonprofit. I was funded by some really wonderful, evil politicians. Love my elected officials. Really, truly, some of the best people I knew. But at the same time, I'd already had a great relationship up at the Capitol and already passed bills on bullying and homelessness for youth and had already done a lot of things. And interestingly enough, A.G. Reyes, so Sean Reyes, actually went to the then Governor Herbert and said, we need to do something about suicide.
Wow.
And he said, no, it's too touchy. And then Hannah died, and everybody knew Hannah. So you always have to have a story to pass a bill. You always have to have facts to pass a bill. And so I always use other people's stories and other facts to pass bills. But this time I became the story. And that's what happened. And everybody knew me and everybody knew Hannah. And so we passed really hard bills. Like everybody was required then that was in behavioral health to have suicide prevention training. You know, I mean, as mandated now.
Yeah.
And Safe UT, we got that passed so that, yeah, Safe UT.
Interesting.
And yeah, the way we collect data, that was because of Hannah. So now we have a wonderful Dr. Michael Staley in the ME's office that has set up a program. He does forensic autopsies on every single kid that dies of suicide. We are getting the best facts in the world. Literally, nobody is doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
So that's because of. So that's, to me, makes sense that her life and her death is not senseless. Right?
That's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't realize this cross-sectionality till today. You know, obviously we've known each other for years, but you know, in the early 2000s, 2010s, people were pretty hush-hush about suicidality or about AA or NA and those things. Right up the road from here, I worked at a treatment center called Action Recovery Group. And so similar, you know, experience. We went through alcoholism in my family, and you know, siblings and loved ones who struggled with suicidal ideation with SI. And you know, some of the names that you mentioned are now, like in the work I do with lobbying and government relations, or this is work like MCOT up at the U. You know,
Yeah, that's Dr. Hudnall's baby.
yeah, Dr. Scott Whittle is an associate of mine. He's the director, or he was the former director of behavioral health for Select Health. And these are all people working in that behavioral health sphere. And I don't even know if we realized this before this meeting. I mean, our last two podcasts were with Evan Doan of USARA. So he's the director there, and he helps with homelessness populations, substance abuse. Yep. Joel Johnson's a lobbyist for healthcare and behavioral health. And
so I have to mention,
I love hearing that. I love
Steve
hearing all of that.
Ellison is an amazing advocate, and so is Daniel Thatcher, Senator Thatcher, both of those. And Huntsman just bought Uni a couple of years ago, and they are doing this huge nationwide end stigma campaign that I've been working on in their youth area. But yeah, we're doing better.
Yeah,
our numbers.
No, I love hearing that because you know I knew Chase and Shay a lot better. We wrestled together and always, you know, had love and respect for them. But you could see Hannah and who she was. Like she walked in and she had personality like nobody knew. I worked at Carlson Harley's and she walked in and everybody knew who Hannah was. That's just the presence that she had. And to have somebody so young, you know, to die by suicide and to go through that experience, it's tragic that it happens and nothing makes up for that. But it's beautiful to see what difference has been made because of her, right? Yeah. And because of what happened with her. So just means a lot to hear that story.
Yeah, I was just so intent on this, like, it's because I'm not from here, but like my wife, she knew this story. Like she grew up in the same areas, and she knows a lot of people that knew Hannah and knew you guys as a family. It was, again, it's that small town feel, but even just in the Utah itself, like you're known across the Capitol, and so was Hannah, and it's just very, I mean, emotional, but also like there are so many ways you could have took that instance, like knowing that, yeah, you could have blamed yourself and gone down a spiral and your whole family and other things, but instead you're like recognizing that she was an amazing person, and she was trying to do so many amazing things through many hardships, and then you were like, okay, I'm going to keep doing that and for her and because of her, instead of just like going the other way, which can happen to many people. I mean, it's such a hard thing for like a child, you know, that's the thing. It's like she was still a child. She's still so young and so much potential in life. But and what's crazy is to recognize, like, I remember growing up, I think my cousins were trying to count how many head like cuts I'd gotten, to the point where concussions, like, oh, I'm at more than you, you know, and it's just what you do as a kid. But then you don't, now we were the 90s, like, you know, it was like, you just went with it and you just like, oh, I feel a little weird today. Not a big deal because I hit my head. Now it's like this, learning that concussions are, you know, real things that can do a lot more than just knock your head out a little bit. There's
a lot of people that get concussions that heal just fine, right? So I don't want to go, okay, if you've been hit in the head, you're going to die, right? That's the last thing I want to do. Matter of fact, I talk with parents
on
a
good business model to get some more money.
Right.
Not true.
No, no. But it's important to understand that so concussions, if you're post-concussive syndrome, which is, after a couple of weeks and going to months, then that's when that term comes to play. And so how it presents is with depression, anxiety, foggy brain, memory problems, tiredness. That all sounds like depression, right? And I'm going to be really blunt here. And so what do? They send them off to a doctor, and what does the doctor do? Prescribe medication, and those medications aren't even meant to deal with concussion, so it makes it worse. Yeah. So Hannah wanted to be on medication, and I'm a pretty naturalist type of person. I mean,
Yep.
But anything that she do, but not one of those medications are approved for anybody under 24. They're all have black box warnings for suicidality or even homicide actions. They all have them. So it didn't help. And the final straw for Hannah was that she wanted to come off of them because she couldn't feel anymore. And she was a very spiritual girl. And she had her own relationship with Heavenly Father. And the concussion, there's a theory that there's a thing called a God spot in your brain that can be either turned on or turned off. And I don't know the validity of that, but I've read some very interesting articles in a book about that called A Ghost in My Brain, written by a genius who actually experienced this. He works in artificial intelligence. And anyway, it wasn't until afterwards that I realized that she felt abandoned. She felt abandoned by God. She couldn't hear him anymore. She used to be able to ask questions and get answers, and she couldn't hear them. So she thought, if my mom can't fix me and God can't fix me, what's the point? And so she tried to come off of medications just to see if she could feel it again. But she did it in a way without me knowing. So if your kids are on medication, please be in control of it. Know exactly how many pills they're taking and when. And if they want to come out, you got to titrate really slow because I think that's what did it.
Yeah. And I think an important part of this conversation that transitions well for the wellness centers, science-based practices, like evidence-based practices that can actually help and treat people properly.
Yeah.
And in the culture that we grew up in, a lot of times it's hush hush, it's work harder, ignore the pain, keep going.
Rub some dirt in it.
Rub some dirt in it, pull up your boots, whatever. And there's a place for that. There's a place for the hard work, but you wouldn't go up to somebody who has diabetes and just say to them, hey, why aren't you producing more insulin? Just get over it, right? Yeah. But if somebody's struggling...
Rub a little insulin in it and just keep on going.
Yeah. But if somebody's struggling with suicidal ideation, with, SI, there are a lot of times where people say, well, you just need to have a better outlook on life. Like, you just need to look at it this way. And there's treatments like CBT and there's things you can do to help cognitively, but there's medical practices that need to be taken properly to help these people.
We're learning.
Yeah, it's a hard transition. It's culture shifts and everything, but
ART, Accelerated Resolution Therapy. It's a new EMDR. Again, ART, Accelerated Resolution Therapy. Perfect. 4 sessions are left on one issue. Not years and years of therapy. Sorry, therapists.
Cashing checks.
Yeah. So, and then, so we teach through LiveHannahsHope, and Chase is on the board. He's on the board with me, and he works with me here. He's my partner here. I kind of like him.
It's nepotism, guys.
Yeah, straight up. I've always liked Chase. No. Chase is great, and I kind of want to hear more your perspective because we heard the mother's side. You know, what's been your perspective throughout this journey and what's happened?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I joined the Wellness Center and Moms because of a lot later in the game, because I didn't have good coping mechanisms or any really good influences that I would look to. I had them, right? You had your church leaders or your parents, people who cared about you. But when you're a teenager and you know better, you don't go to those people as often. And so for me, around that time that Hannah died, I was very distanced from God, and I was doing a lot of drugs, and I was partying a lot. And I was hanging around a crowd that was supportive of those tendencies, of those coping mechanisms instead of healthy coping mechanisms. And so when she died, I honestly went down that rabbit hole, just deeper and deeper and deeper, trying to stop and numb all the pain. And so for me, where I really got into like full-hearted living and trying to help people. And because of, and I truly was there. I was actually about 25. So it was only about 2 years ago. And I had just, so, I was 18 when my sister passed away, and we're only about 2 years apart. So she was 16, and, started just partying more, hanging out with bad friends more, making worse decisions. And around the time I was about 3 days before my 21st birthday, I remember sitting there and just having like this cognitive thought one day. I woke up and I was hungover, and I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this life. I'm done trying to like swallow pain and stuff. I'm done trying to like slowly kill myself with drugs and alcohol and all of that crazy stuff. And I just quit everything cold turkey.
Wow.
Like my vape pens, my cigarettes, alcohol, my weed. I just, I threw it all away, and I walked away from it all without a single withdrawal.
Wow. Okay.
Total godsend. Right.
Yeah.
Huge blessing. I personally don't know of anyone else that's ever walked away from all of that stuff cold turkey. And I haven't relapsed at all from it. And, got clean, got sober, and started just trying to live a more full-hearted life, and then got married when I was 22, I believe. And then by the time I was 25, that's when I was really starting to understand that, full-hearted living isn't just staying sober from drugs. It's actually like uprooting wounds and negative beliefs about yourself. And, that internal question that every one of us have asked is, am I enough? Right. So I started really diving deep into that stuff. And as I started really diving deep into that process, at the time I was a real estate agent, and I was doing pretty good. And I had a wife and I had 2 kids, and my wife got a concussion playing soccer. So this was back in March of 22. I know you're a big soccer guy. Eli was telling me that
it happens all the time in the game.
Yeah.
Number one cause for microconcussions.
Especially women's soccer. And so my wife, she like headed the ball wrong, and then she got slammed down in the second half, and she was done. She came home, she climbed into bed that night. It was like 10 o'clock, and she didn't get out of bed for, I believe, 2 weeks.
Whoa.
Yeah. Blackout curtains, the sleep masks, noise canceling headphones, couldn't function as a mom. And at the time I was working like 60 hours a week. I had a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old and a wife that I am now a hospice nurse for. Yeah. Right. Pretty crazy situation. And in those couple of weeks that I was taking care of her and the kids and still trying to work and make everything function, there's one thing or 2 things that I really realized. The first was that I hated real estate. It was a really job.
Solid one.
I hated that job with a passion. And I had no idea who my family was. I didn't know my wife. I didn't know my kids. And I learned that I loved them. Like I was 2 years late for that stuff, but I loved them. So I hung up my real estate license and I walked away without even looking back. And I joined a nonprofit organization working part-time, making $13 an hour. And I did that job for a while. And I was doing it because I wanted to give back and I wanted to serve people. So it was called The Family Place, and nonprofit up in Cache Valley, where all they do is work with like displaced kids and families that need help, and all about lifting the family up. And again, I was making like $13 an hour with a wife and 2 kids working part-time. Wow. I was not making good money. Yeah. And my mom reached out to me about the wellness center, and she said, "Hey, I'm opening up a location in South Ogden. I'll pay you double. Come work." And I was like, sold. Cool. So I left that job and I came over here, and I was, to be honest with you, I was not a firm believer in the red light therapy. I thought this was another one of those.
Red light therapy is fantastic.
Another one of things that mom does.
Another one of those holistic style essential oils that you put on your body to smell good, and that's it. And
no knock to essential oils.
No knock to essential oils whatsoever.
I put lavender on my pillow at night.
it is the FDA approved oil. So no knock on them at all. I like them a lot. And but so my wife, after about 2 weeks, she still had a lot of the symptoms. And I have this
$100,000 pod in my house that other people are coming to and using to get better. And I've already watched kids heal.
Chase, the solution's at the door.
Hello, kind of thing. And so I finally bring my wife down to my mom's bed, and we get her in the pod. And after 4 sessions, she was back to mom, back to normal, back to my wife. Like nothing had ever happened. And I was just like, all right. I'm in for the rest of my life. Yeah. How do we do this?
That is so awesome.
So that's kind of how I landed here.
That's so cool and crazy. So like you started I mean, noticing that this wasn't going away. This can kind of like from one moment to the next, she was just totally different.
Oh, I mean, she gets home, she like climbs in. I think I was playing a video game with my friends at the time, and she gave me a kiss. She says, "I've got a headache. I'm going to bed." Thought nothing of it, right? Because she had chronic headaches and she didn't get out of bed for 2 weeks. And I remember when we would drive her here or drive her to my parents' house, she got so sick. It was 2 sleep masks, noise canceling headphones, a neck pillow, reclined back in the car, and she was out. But it was 4 sessions of these pods. And she was totally back to normal.
Doesn't always happen that fast.
No,
you got to tell.
Typically not, but it needed to be that fast so I could witness it.
So,
right?
Wow,
yeah.
Holy cow.
So you got to go into this more then, because this seems like I just want to learn more about how that works. Like I know you know I've seen the pods. Like there's a lot to that, I assume. So like I want to know where that comes from, because I haven't heard of it at all, and I'm just like
of red light therapy.
Yeah, like I haven't heard. Obviously when I was doing my research on you guys and seeing it all, but I was like, how does it work? What does it do? And, because obviously you see all the other people saying, this will work for you, this will work for you. But it's a little proven. Like you've obviously got 2 locations. You've been doing this for a while.
A couple years now.
Yeah, so it's doing great. But I'm wanting to learn, like, I'm a newbie. Teach me and, like, show me, what does it do?
You want to do the science? Or
I'll do the stories, you do the science.
Okay.
He's really good.
I love it.
So
Chase is smart. I remember.
So quick disclaimer, when you say this works for some, this works for other, this is just another healing modality, and it's one that we feel works, and it's very efficient.
Yeah.
So red light therapy is a couple of things. What we do is a couple of things.
Okay.
So red light therapy is light in the red spectrum. That's it. So, there's different wavelengths of light. Like, for example, the light that we use with the light panels and the lights above your head, the sun, UV rays and tanning beds, those are all just light in the different spectrums of light, the different wavelengths of light. They're called nanometers. That's how you measure them. And what we do is we do red and near infrared light. So we use light in the red spectrum, a 633 nanometer wavelength light, all the way up to a 940 wavelength of light. So some lights you can see and some you can't. Now, in our full body beds, very similar to that of a tanning bed, we use 4 different wavelengths of light, 1 in the red and 3 in the near infrared.
They're all the red healing lights.
They're all of the scientifically proven lights to heal the best, right? The different wavelengths of light can penetrate the skin at different depths. So we have the light in the red spectrum, which is like your skin level, that helps with like collagen production and all of that really cool stuff. And then we can penetrate down into your muscles and help produce like protein and nitrous oxide. And then we can also go down to your cells and we can help like heal your cells, proliferate your cells, which is just a fancy term for multiply them. We can take the different forms of cells, which can be like cells that are dying, cells that are turning into like free radical cells, and we can recalibrate them and speed them up.
Really?
We help all of the cells that are healthy produce ATP. Now, I know since we're all about the same age, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Big shocker there. It's because it produces ATP.
Yeah, and ATP is what
adenosine triphosphate.
And it attacks free radicals.
Exactly.
Right?
It attacks free radicals. It's the energy currency of the cell. It helps every part of the cell function to its best capacity. So essentially, that's what red light does, right? We're recalibrating people on the cellular level. The fancy term is what it is now is called photobiomodulation.
That's a big word.
Huge word, right? It took me 2 months to learn how to say it.
Look up that
you
word.
said that really fast. I was like,
no, you're good. I'll break it. So photobiomodulation.
Okay.
Photo meaning light.
Yep.
Bio, human biology. Modulation means to calibrate.
Okay.
We are using light to calibrate your body. Now, what we also do, which is the new stuff, which is the cutting edge, the gold standard, is we can pulse the light too. So, for example, there's close to 7,500 peer-reviewed scientific published studies about red light in all of the different wavelengths and all of the different studies. Now, when it comes to pulsing red light, there's 75. 75 scientific published studies. So there's not much out there right now.
Yeah, I'm ASLMS, American Society for Laser Medicine and Surgery. They have a whole bunch of studies on this.
That's one. And I've got a huge list I can send you too.
Yeah, no, I'd love to see that. My cousin Josh, and sorry, we'll transition back.
He's a UFC fighter.
Yeah, and he does red light therapy for all the guys that he trains, like everybody who trains at his dojo. And,
Good.
My cousin or my dad was a chiropractor, and he kind of dabbled in red light, but he never really went full into it. So I'm personally interested.
Yeah. So red light therapy is actually a relatively new science. Well, it's not, and it is.
1960s.
So even 1960s is when it got popular. There was a doctor named Andre Mester. He was a Hungarian doctor, and he's with NASA developed a laser red light therapy.
Can I interrupt there?
Yeah, please do.
So what happened was NASA actually wanted to create a weapon. And they discovered
lovely.
Lasers.
Yeah. He
Cool.
discovered Star Wars way back then.
Yeah.
Right.
But they discovered that these 4 lights were healing, so they didn't want anything to do with them. So
And
right?
it was
That's
like
really
John-
it was jaundice in
JFK.
babies.
Wow.
It was like, it was jaundice that it was actually healing. And it was like that yellow pigment when kids are born. It was helping healing, that kind of stuff that they were noticing.
Wow. Holy cow.
And they've been so you're saying this has been around since the 60s,
Yeah.
and yet people still don't know about this stuff.
Well, this is so different. So if it's the single lights, right, and the healing lights, you can go into a lot of like facial
You
places.
go into spas and gyms.
and they do-
Yeah, Vasa
and-
has like big old. red
Oh yeah.
lights, but
Okay,
it's
I
not-
know what Vasa.
Yeah.
Sorry, Vasa, but I know what you have.
On the roll.
Yeah. No. Vasa
Clean your
has
lights.
something that has two. It has 2 wavelengths, and that's it. And there's no pulsing, and it's and they only let you stand in it for 9 minutes, right? Come here. You really
Yeah.
want to do something. The thing that bothers me about that kind of not very good product is that it'll lead people to believe that it doesn't really do anything,
Oh,
Yeah,
right?
that makes sense.
that does
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah.
I've tried it like 5 times at
Yeah,
Boston.
red light
it
doesn't do
work.
anything. So you come here, and the frequencies that we pulse through are so cool. This used to be woo-woo medicine, and it's not. I'm much more comfortable with woo-woo, right? But this is actually being studied at the U and all over the
No,
country,
I've
the
seen a little
world.
Mhm.
So like everything is energy, right? Everything that everything. Emotion has energy. All the energy. Then when we measure it, we call it a frequency. So
That goes into like string theory and all those.
Yeah.
And
yeah, absolutely legit. Okay. So I don't sound really scientific. He does that really good. But what's so exciting about this is that we know now that your heart has a certain frequency that it'll resonate at when it's healthy. Okay. And that's with everything. And that when you're happy, you resonate at something. When you're sad, it's interesting, years and years and years ago, an oil company did a study at Weber State, and they found that the frequency of anger and cancer were the same.
Oh.
Interesting, isn't
Okay.
it?
Whoa.
Yes.
Okay, that felt personal.
We can talk about it afterwards. I
Yeah.
got you.
And so this is where we come back to the science of red light and what
Yes,
our
what
pods
ours
do,
does.
and what's
Yeah.
different than any other red light therapy device in the world is that we can pulse our lights. And we
Yeah.
can choose the frequencies in which we pulse the lights, anywhere from 1 hertz up to 10,000 hertz,
Yeah.
and all of them in between. And there's a lot of science. Like I said, those 75 studies, there's one of them that I read that talks about how light in the red and near infrared spectrum pulsed at 20 hertz produces dopamine in the brain,
Yes.
right?
Wow.
Pretty important.
Huge for addiction, huge for depression, huge for Parkinson's disease.
Yeah.
Light pulsed at 40 hertz removes amyloid plaque on the brain. I've read studies about where they use a certain type of fish called zebrafish, and they produce an Alzheimer's-like effect on their brains by using okadaic acid, and that gray matter. And after inducing the fish to red light, they put them into a study to see what they would do. And the fish that undergone red light not only recovered fully, but performed better cognitively than the control fish.
Wow.
There's literature out there
Yeah.
about how pulsed red light
That's-
has taken an autistic child's brain and created wavelengths very similar to that of a normal kid's brain for up to a year.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
lasting
Yeah.
effects. is what you're
Lasting.
saying.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
we need to do is some of these studies that you have, we should list them on
We'll link it.
link it on
Yeah,
the episode
absolutely.
so people can see themselves.
I'm intrigued. I
And
gotta.
I keep thinking we need to have a podcast for you guys, the Pod Podcast.
Yeah.
The Pod Podcast.
The pod podcast.
This is fat. This is
Fun, huh?
yeah.
it's
Like,
is
it's
fun.
incredible to learn about, and obviously, that it's been around for so long, and obviously, it's just getting better and better. Like you're saying, now the pulsing and stuff.
Mhm.
And so, where did you go? So obviously, Hannah's Hope and all this was incredible work, and then this started later on. Then
Yeah, I'm going to say live Hannah's Hope.
Live Hannah's
I know
Hope.
everyone
I'm
does
so
the same.
sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
No,
Don't
there's
be
actually
everybody.
another nonprofit out there called
Yeah,
Hannah's
yeah.
Hope.
Oh,
so
so
we're
yeah.
Live Hannah's
Okay.
Hope.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
had to make that choice.
We
but
still love that Hannah, it's just
Yeah.
not our Hannah.
Yeah, that's
okay.
right. That's right. Don't send our money to them.
That's awesome.
So I want to go into Live Hannah's Hope a little bit more. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I want to just tell you some of the programs that we do. So I do the work of Byron Katie, and I'm a facilitator for that. And anybody that is under 18, I will do that for free. Okay, $75 for all you know. What did you call them?
Yeah.
You know, the wrinkled people. Is that what you call them?
No.
Can't remember.
I'm one of them now.
Yeah, okay.
No.
I'm wrinkled.
10-year reunion.
I also go and do an evidence-based teaching for free for anybody, and it gives education credits so that people that need that, and it's called
CE, like
CEUs,
yeah.
And so it's called. Okay, I have a brain disease. I'm just going to bring that up right now. I really do, and sometimes my brain just flips off. And one of the reasons why I love the pod so much is because it helps me. I would just be sitting at my couch today if it weren't for the pods, literally.
Awesome.
So
Wow.
give me just a second to
You're
reset.
good.
What?
QPR.
Yeah, QPR. Thank you. So anyway, so QPR is question, persuade, and refer. And so that's an evidence-based, wonderful hour-long program that I'll go teach anyone, anywhere, anytime. I even have something on my website. Now, the fun thing is, this is the fun part, I have a thing called the Resilience Award. So Hannah Warburton Resilience Award. And every year for Utah seniors, and I'm willing to take it national. If more people want to send me money, I'll do that.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah. I've never taken a salary out of Live Hannah's Hope.
Right.
I've never done that. And I've never taken tax dollars, although I am opposed to that actually. And I still am conservative. So what we do is we have seniors submit their stories of resilience, things that they had to overcome in their lives to graduate. And it has to be tough. And then we take those stories and we put them on the website, and then other kids can read them. And because kids want to hear from kids, they don't want to hear from us wrinkly old grown-ups. I know you're never going to be able to live that down. Anyway, wrinkly and fat. Okay, so
that's nobody in this room.
Anyway, so no.
So the reward is for seniors.
Yeah, just for seniors.
And this
It's
for Utah.
Yeah, just
specifically? Okay.
yeah. So I give. It depends on how many awards I get. So you can donate whatever you want, but it's a $500 award for every student that gets awarded. And so sometimes I've only done 3 or 4 in a year, and sometimes I've done up to 15. I would love to do 25, 30, 40, 50.
Right.
We push it out through USOE, which is the Utah State Office of Education. It goes through their listserv so that all the counselors can put it in front of their kids so they can apply. So it's a lengthy process, and it's open now. I've already gotten applications, and it closes March 20th. And that gives me time to put everything all together. And then, so when a person gives $500 total, they get to have their name on the plaque with the person if they want it, so this is donated by this. And then of course your names are always listed. I'm not very good I don't need recognition. So I'm not very good at recognizing people, and I know they like that, but anyway, the kids are thrilled by this, and it's a really neat way. So we can live Hannah's Hope now. I think I've got that all covered.
Well, I want to touch base on that myself because I remember being a kid, right? High school age, it's tough. You do feel alone. You're changing. A lot of things are changing around you. Kids are mean. Kids are great. It's all that. It's a hard time, and high school is not for everybody. It's always hard, and to get them to recognize their own hardship and how they've come through it, I think that's incredible, because sometimes you don't think of your own, I did this, it was hard, and that's okay to say it was hard, and I'm coming through it. And then to reward them and get them to speak out for themselves and have other kids, because you can feel really alone. Like, all I've heard when we've been doing these suicide stuff and really talking about mental health is the main thing I hear is loneliness. Right. It is, I feel alone, but yet there's so many people that do feel these ways, and it's okay to feel lonely. And but there are communities, there are people, like you said, that when you go to a funeral and there's so many people there that just wish they'd known. Yeah. And to get that kind of like, hey, it's okay to be sad and get through it and push, and really see that resilience. I think I just got to shout that out, because I remember being a hot kid and I was in a different country, and I was, and it was hard. Yeah. But there are other kids that have hard stuff too. But it took me a long time to recognize what I had gone through, let alone my friends had gone through. And I think talking about that is, again, the main thing I keep hearing is the communication and it's not a taboo subject.
Right.
We need to talk about the hardships that people go through, substance abuses usually come from mental illnesses because they're just struggling, they're depressed. There are many things you can go into, like you said. So I just wanted to shout that out.
Yeah.
That's
I thought that
awesome.
was incredible.
You know, I want you to just close your eyes for a second, if you would be so brave to do this, and imagine a group of 1,000 kids. Okay, so I'm standing there on stage, and I've got 1,000 kids in the audience, and I have them all close their eyes, and then I tell them, if you've ever felt sad or depressed, raise your right hand. Now keep it up. Now, if you've ever felt anxious about a test or anything like that, then raise your left hand, keep it up. Now keep your hands up and open your eyes and look around. And everybody has their hands up. Yeah. And it is powerful. Yeah. So let's talk about it. Let's make not being okay. That's
exactly.
so powerful. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. That was one of the powerful things I learned through my time in AA as well, is that, generating that connection and group therapy. When you have that, like, we are a tribal species. We are born into families. We have family units. We have tribes. We have culture. And so when you surround yourself with people who have the same experience, but rather than bringing us down, kind of like experiences we've had before, but somebody who can elevate us to that next level and to look into solutions rather than just ruminating in problems.
Absolutely.
And that's what I see with the Wellness Center here, is you guys have experienced all this turmoil, but you've chosen to rise above. It reminds me, do you know Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So to be victorious.
Have you read that yet?
I have not.
That is a must-read book. Yeah. So
Okay.
Viktor Frankl was this, he was a survivor of the Holocaust. He was a psychiatrist and psychologist, but he when he was put in the concentration camps, basically he was, the only way he survived when he was removed from his family and all of them ended up dying, was he envisioned what life would be like after the Holocaust, having a family again, and then also writing a book about his experience and analyzing suffering.
Gotcha.
And then in this analysis, he basically said that suffering is meaningless, but it's how we respond to suffering that gives it meaning. And that's what I see the Wellness Center as, is that positive response to suffering.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
It's resilience.
Have you guys ever heard of a book? So I'm huge into addiction recovery, right? I'm in those groups.
We have a lot to talk about.
We do have a lot to talk about. But I know you were talking about this. I just want to touch on it a little bit. Everyone is on the path, right? Yeah. The path isn't different. It's just some people are farther along in the path of addiction recovery. Some people are starting that path of addiction recovery. And it's cool to realize as you start to talk about it, how not alone you truly are, right? Like, I can't tell you how many times I've been on men's retreats, or I've been on weekly group meetings, and a new guy joins and he's sitting there and so much shame for just trying to cope with what he knew trying to do what he could do to cope. And he opens up, and more than half the guys are like, hey, we did that last week, And it's that instant I'm not alone. Yeah. So I really appreciated that.
Removing the isolation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Community is such a strong thing that needs to, like you said, we're all about, we're not meant to be alone. There's so many people that want to be around you. You find it with families, and you find it with your family that isn't blood, like friends, like they're lifelong friends that can be really important, and everyone cares about you. So it's so hard when you hear suicide and they say, I just feel everyone should be better without me, and it's so hard for them. They really do feel that way, but at the same time, that's not the truth, and you have to make sure you show them in their hardest time that you're around.
So one of the things that I've learned from Byron Katie, the work Inquiry, is to question my painful thoughts, and that truth brings freedom and truth brings peace. And so, and the same 1,000 kids, I've spoken a lot of groups, but for some reason this one keeps coming back to me. And, you ask yourself, they'd be better off without me. Is that true? Can I really know that that's true? And what happens when I believe that thought? How am I feeling? What do I do? How do I react? Which is, I want to leave. I want to die. So there's nothing peaceful about that. Well, who would I be if I wasn't thinking that, or if I couldn't even have that thought? And you don't want to ignore the feelings. You have to give space to have feelings. You have to give space for those, because they're your little baby Buddhas. They're your little learning
alarms.
Yeah,
They're also
absolutely.
your alarms.
I call them God winks, but
Yeah.
God winks.
Yeah,
Oh,
I call them
Yeah.
God winks, but
Yeah.
same
Nice.
thing.
So you get you
One of my
honor
closest
that.
friends uses that same term. So that's so
We have a
weird.
lot to talk about.
we got a lot to talk about. Well,
So anyway, that's a process of learning to deal with those things that are so important.
Yeah.
And yeah, I taught Hannah. Okay, so as a parent,
Yeah.
and do you have kids yet?
No.
Okay,
no.
so he's got 2, and
Wait
I've
until
got
you're
3.
ready. Wait till you think you're ready.
Yeah. And then you're still not ready.
Yeah.
oh man.
But I'm a lecturer, right? I love to sit here and talk, right? That's awesome. It wasn't until after Hannah left that I realized that my kids don't do what I tell them to do. They do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So I taught Hannah how to be tough. I taught her how to help people rather than talk about her own feelings. I had to make a choice. Was I going to correct that in myself? Was I going to go back to the Capitol to all these people that I had so much admiration for and tell them what a failure as a parent I was? Or was I going to rise to the occasion and make the very best I could? It wasn't easy. I had serious issues being there. It was so hard. But yeah, I had to do that. I had to do that for me.
Wow. I can't imagine that.
So I love the Wellness Center. I love what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And it is such a blessing to me to have kids come and we save their lives.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
That's what I was going to ask you. So
Yeah.
how do they find you? Like, obviously, I know you have a website and stuff, but like, if you want to tell people that, I'll put it in the link too. But
Okay.
how do they find Live Hannah's Hope, not
Very
Hannah's
good.
Hope,
You did good.
and then the Wellness X? So you have 2 locations, right?
Yeah.
One in the valley and then one
Yeah.
down here.
Yeah.
And then how long are these sessions? Just a little more about like what comes down to it.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit more about the pulsing of
Yes.
the protocols.
Oh yeah, we kind of want to
because that explains a lot about what we do here. So I know we already talked about the red light and what red light does, but just a quick recap, it's going to improve your circulation, decrease your inflammation. It's going to promote your body's natural ability to heal, and it's going to give you more energy.
Yeah.
That's red light in general. Now, pulsing, what it does is it commands your body to function a different way. Now, for example, people with Parkinson's or people with addiction, they have a lack of dopamine, right? They get those hits. It damages the neuronal receptors that say produce more dopamine. These pods, when you pulse the light at 20 hertz, not only does it command the brain to produce dopamine, but it heals the brain and the neurons in the brain and teaches them and recalibrates them to produce dopamine naturally. Right? So it can help with addiction recovery and depression. It's a depression medication that has 0 side effects.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
So,
awesome.
and that's just one frequency. That's just 20 hertz. We can pulse these beds from anywhere from 1 hertz up to 10,000 hertz. Now, what we can do is we can take the 4 different wavelengths of light that we have, and we can pulse them all at the same frequency or at different frequencies, depending on the science closely associated with each one of those wavelengths. And then we can tell the pod to pulse the light anywhere between 15 seconds and up to 10 minutes, and all of the intervals in between. And then we can stack those frequencies together to create a protocol. So, for example, our concussion protocol, which is the big reason why we did this, it's called concussion relief, pulses light at the specific frequencies that have been scientifically proven to recalibrate the brain to function the way it's supposed to prior to the concussion.
Okay.
And there's, I don't know how many different protocol or how many different frequencies there are, but there's plenty of them in there. And these protocols stack up to be anywhere to about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the protocol and the intensity of it. So yeah, what we do is we have used science to create about 75 protocols of our own choice. We've got about 200 from the manufacturer, and we use those to help people.
That's awesome.
And we partner with the manufacturer.
Oh,
They are our
really?
friends,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
And they're relatively new, 4 years.
Oh, okay.
They're
Really?
very, very best of the best. So, yeah. And so if anybody wants to buy a pod, let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anybody out
they're
there?
just a measly, 90,000.
Oh, chump change.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's fascinating that culture is just so interesting because we have so many people who believe in, we use X-rays, we use CT scans, we do ultrasound, we do, we do chemotherapy and radiation therapy and all that kind of stuff. And yet, obviously people would put this in like a holistic medicine.
Oh, yeah.
When,
100%.
Yeah, like when it's like, go look at the studies.
Right.
So I'm gonna go read those today, and I'm gonna probably be a little bit cheeky and ask if I can't use them a
Yeah.
couple times. I got plenty of concussions in wrestling and
We'll
football.
get you guys in the pods before you head out today.
Oh, God.
If-
That'd be cool.
I've been waiting for you.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, shoot.
Oh, that mom look right there. I was like,
I have been waiting for you.
I'm not going to ask why.
I don't know how many times have I said, come on, come try
Yeah,
it,
no,
try
I'm
it.
here and I brought the team.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
I gotta note when you go and you're so passionate about this now, like I can see it.
And educated.
Yeah. And then I look at your mom and just the proud look when you're going off and just like in this like tangent of like, look, this is me, this is this, and then just the proudness of it all. I think it really shows, and just had to point that out. If you watch the video back, you're gonna see it. It's just really cool. But so there's a lot to it then. And so how long would a normal session last?
So maximum of 20 minutes.
Okay.
And this is not a one and done, right?
Right.
This, you can't go in and get chemo radiation and be cured of cancer day one. That would be really cool and a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
You know, if we claimed the same thing, we'd probably be a lot more expensive too. No, it's something that you have to do consistently. It's light,
Yeah.
right? It's turn on the light and stand underneath it. Same thing, just a different wavelength. Standard science, our science, all of our research. So we're currently doing an IRB approved study right now, right? We also gather a lot of data from our clients on a lot of different aspects of what.
Can you explain IRB to everyone? Because the audience maybe won't know
Yeah,
what that
you
is.
know, I wish I could remember what it stands for, but basically, it's a board or it's a panel of people who approve human trials. Human scientific trials.
Okay.
So we're working with a biochemist professor at Weber State. She's a doctor, super awesome lady. And we are collecting saliva samples from people before and after pod sessions to check different levels of oxidative stress and some other things. And then from there, we're going to get more into some in-depth research on inflammation or some other things. Just kind of depending.
You're part of these, like you're talking about all the scientific, studies. You're actually part of these.
Yeah, we're part of the studies.
Wow, that's awesome.
We're doing it.
All I got to say is, if any of you are willing to go to Vasa or Planet Fitness and sit in a tanning bed for 15 minutes multiple times a week, and you're looking at this and saying like, "Oh, what is this nonsense?"
See, it can get as cheap as here, $9 a session. It can get that cheap depending on the package that they buy and how often they come. But if they're going to Vasa 3 times a week, why not you come and get like some actual red light therapy? Love you, Vasa. And experience something that you'll never experience almost anywhere else in the world.
Cool.
Incredible.
Yeah,
so
that's
can I
awesome.
ask then? So like when somebody comes out from there, do you just as a new do you learn do you feel better right away? Like I know you said it takes time, right? But obviously you're with these lights and all that, and it
Can I share a personal story? So when I first went up there, I had no idea what I was doing, and I went up in Heber, and when I got out of there, I have hydrocephalus. That's what I have. I have a shunt in my brain, and so it's non-curable at this point, which is really hard for me to swallow. But I was like, what just happened to me? I'm hypersensitive. I'm super sensitive to things, so I could feel it. After 4, I wanted to buy one.
Wow.
Yeah, after 4. And where I'm happiest physically is at sea level. So you put me on a cruise, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But this all happened in 2020. No, I wasn't cruising. I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't doing anything. We were thinking about buying a home in Puerto Vallarta, but they were really expensive. And I came back and I said, honey, I just want a pod. I just want a pod of my very own. I'm not going to, I don't want any pressure on having to pay it, really quick. Let's just buy it. The money just popped up. It was a miracle how that happened. We flip houses sometimes and 100,000 was right there. So off we went. And then all of a sudden everybody wanted to come. And I started
Everyone
out.
else wanted to
Oh my gosh.
do it.
9 to noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, because that's what the doctor taught me. It was every other day. Within weeks, I was getting up at 5:30 in the morning for people to come and staying up until 8 because people were just coming all day long. They wanted to be there. So, and then some people have great results out of that and some people not so much. Some people still come from those times, some people not. Everybody reacts differently. And unfortunately, men have the hardest time. They have a hardest time. I know, it doesn't mean you do. Don't buy my story.
So here's the truth. Just like every medicine, any prescription out there in the world, no matter holistic medicine or essential oils, I know we're talking about those, results aren't guaranteed, right? We're seeing on average because again, I know she mentioned it briefly, the best results are noticed if sessions are completed every other day for 2 weeks. So 6 sessions minimum.
12 sessions is a course.
12 sessions completes a course.
That's science.
And that's just the different wavelengths or the frequencies that we talk about with the pulsing, right? It takes about 12 sessions to recalibrate those specific energies to function their best way. It's about 12 sessions. 65 to 70% of our clients are noticing anywhere between 50 and 90% improvement in their overall quality of life.
That's huge.
In as little as 6 sessions.
And he's being
I'm being humble about it.
He is. Well, he is not. It's even higher than that, but he won't. He doesn't want to overpromise and underdeliver.
I am very much an underdeliver or an under promise over deliver type of person. So most people, and this one I'm very confident about, 6 sessions in the pod with your concussion, post-concussion syndrome, you can see almost total symptom relief in as little as 6 sessions, which is under 2 hours of time.
Think
That's
about
crazy.
that.
Yeah, like you think, because you're saying like 20 minutes, but it's like you add that up and it's really not a long time.
no.
You're sitting in
I have
the-
a young lady
you
in
can
my
watch
home.
Avengers Endgame it would take, I love Avengers, but you can watch that and it takes more time to watch that than it does to totally and completely change your life.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Yeah, think about
That
it.
is the
I
best
just don't
pitch
think
I've
there's
heard
enough
in a
out
long time.
there talking about it. Like I've just not seen enough of this. Like if it's obviously, you get put in that holistic thing where people are like, oh, it's just lights flashing at you or something. But
We'll get you guys in the pod when we're done with the
gosh,
episode
yes.
today, and you'll see.
Well, it's
scared.
always been so interesting to me
Exactly.
because my dad was a retired NFL player, then became chiropractor, and you look at that world of then my cousin Josh fought in the UFC. They all do chiropractic, they all do red light, they all do holistic medicine, and they're the greatest athletes on
I
the
did not
planet.
know that.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, why would you you have all these top, like LeBron James himself I know that he does red light therapy. He does his own.
Ed Milet does
oxidants.
red light therapy.
Yeah,
and a
so
lot of
like-
his friends. Tony
yeah.
Robinson is a huge supporter of red light
I was
therapy.
just at a Tony Robbins event. That's where I got
Oh,
this.
okay, super cool.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
don't even have what we have. And they're,
What they have is about half of what our pod
Yeah.
does, and that's just from the data
Dang.
and what the power output and the customization of these pods. We've got thousands of different what we call steps, which is the wavelengths of light and the frequencies at which we pulse them and the intensity at which we pulse them. We can make new steps, and we can take the thousands of steps and put them and create a protocol. So like, for example, if Elijah came in and you said, I've got problems with macular degeneration, tinnitus, neuropathy, bone issues, and muscle issues, and I've got foot ulcers, we could, if he really
You're
wanted
not far
to,
off.
we could make a protocol that could target every one of those things.
that's incredible.
Now, we
Cool.
typically don't, but we can.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, there's already one that probably touches on every one of those things, and that's deep relief.
Yeah.
And that's one of our most popular things. So I'm curious, your dad, can I ask you some questions?
Go ahead.
Oh,
Okay.
switching it around.
Go ahead.
Welcome to the Chase and Laura podcast.
Yeah, go ahead. Go
So
ahead.
he's a football player.
Yeah, Dr. Stephen Cope Taylor. Yep.
Bless his heart.
Yeah, I know.
So how many years did he play?
2 years, Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, wow. Okay.
1970, 1971. So,
Okay.
So people think I'm rich because of that, but back then they paid him like $8,000 and said go home. And so and then he got 3 ex-wives after that. So we didn't have any of that.
That alimony, that 8,000 alimony went out pretty quick.
So do you have any Alzheimer's in your family?
My grandmother had Alzheimer's. She
That's
did.
your dad's mom?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just tell you right now, there is a gene that's been identified, and it's not absolutely proven yet, but I'll tell you, everybody that I talk to that has that gene, that it's Alzheimer's, are far more prone to concussion
Oh,
and
really?
post-concussive syndrome. So your dad was a high achiever, obviously,
Oh, yeah, he was a complete
but
high achiever.
I bet you he had anger issues, and I bet you had depression and anxiety issues.
Wow.
That's all concussion.
Yeah,
And we could have taken care of that.
we all did sports growing up.
Yeah.
I remember I had one really massive concussion when I was 12 that put me out for 2 weeks. And I remember waking up in bed once and being like, whoa, where did these last 2 weeks go?
Okay, so
Yeah.
you have a higher chance of post-concussive syndrome, which is long-term. So we need
me
to
the pods.
Yes,
Yeah.
we need to get you
Get
the
me the
pods. Seriously.
Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. 100,000%.
No, I'm all for it.
So
Sounds
that's
great to me.
what I just did with you is what I do with everybody.
Oh, okay. qualifying, kind of like
That's it.
Yeah.
So
It's
we're not
flexible.
doctors. We can't
Yeah.
diagnose
Nope.
you, right? But what
Right.
we
Nope.
do is we match make.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we're facilitators.
Yep. We love when someone comes in with a diagnosis where you say, I had concussions. It's like, perfect.
Yeah. No,
Your
that's
motherboard
awesome.
is broken. We need to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious what the world looks like for red light therapy for insurance paneling and
I
those
hope
kind of-
never.
Yeah.
So
yeah, 'cause
we're-
insurance will ruin it.
We're FDA registered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We're not FDA approved. We just don't have
We don't
hundreds
want
of
it.
millions of dollars to get approved, but we're registered.
I don't
Okay.
want it. I don't want it because the prices would go up. We just start playing with it. They would start insurance companies would start determining what we can charge and what we can't charge. It would just be ugly. And so, we really do force the issue of 12 sessions in all of our packages and memberships.
Have you thought about teaming with, I think a good partnership for something like this could be ortho or PT, like that whole world.
Yeah, absolutely. We do. We
And you
do.
could
We,
contract out with that kind of stuff.
Chiropractors and personal
Yeah.
injury.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
LPI.
Yeah.
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 And so we are always looking for partners and partners legitimately too, not just partners, but partners in business.
Like
And
if
we would
someone
like
wants to come in and help us scale the business.
Yeah.
Those types of partners.
Yeah. We're open to that. We've talked to several people.
Should walk up and talk to Action Recovery Group. I know their owner. He'd probably like this kind
Are
of
they
stuff.
just right behind us?
Yeah.
They're right up on the hill. They're
Yeah.
right there.
They're right across the street. Does he
Yeah.
drive? What kind of car does he drive?
A really nice Porsche.
Okay. No,
Yeah,
that's
he was
not
my
it.
mentor, and one day we were
Yeah.
driving home. I was marketing for his addiction clinic and another addiction clinic called Weber Recovery Center. And I was like, "Hey, Ryan, I'm thinking about maybe going the clinical route and being a therapist, but I also like marketing." And we're driving home in his Porsche, and he's like, "You could be a therapist and save a lot of lives, do a good job, or you could be the guy that opens it someday and have a Porsche like me." I was just like, "Well, I think I'll." And then
I think I'll start my own business.
I
I
think
met
I'll-
with his son today to talk about financial planning.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So funny.
Yeah,
But it sounds like you would want to keep away from that because you just want to help people more.
Right.
Than, more
Well,
than the
of
money.
course,
It's
of course,
more than that.
yeah.
You just want to
Yeah.
help.
because
more
you're better people than me.
Well,
I want money. Please help me,
Yeah,
hook me up with
we
your
want
people.
I think we've got a really good system. I think we don't have ROI quite yet.
And see, the big thing is we can help up to 66 people a day, right? That's how many people we can fit in the pods in any given day. A lot of what we do right now, we're donating, we're giving away. So like we have something called the Athletic Concussion Program. Any athlete from junior high up through a professional level, if they get a concussion during practice or a sports league, they can just show up and we'll give them 6 free sessions of red light therapy.
Wow.
Whoa.
Right? We are doing the research, and anyone who comes and does the research, we're giving them free sessions, right? If someone's coming in and they've got like an end of life illness, just
Well,
come.
you
I'd
just
rather
wanna help
We just
people.
want to
Yeah.
help people. The
That's so great.
money will come.
Yep.
But sometimes people, and we have like a community day too, first
Yeah.
Saturday of every month. I
And
don't care who
anybody
you
can
are,
come.
anyone can come.
Wow.
We care so much more about serving and helping people, and we understand the money will come when the money does.
Yeah.
Right? That's not the big thing. The big thing is that people are getting their lives changed.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to help more people though. So come on down.
I just seeing the passion behind the way you're talking about it is obvious. It's very obvious that you just want to. Obviously, you're a business. Everyone's a business.
Gotta
but
make money, yeah.
But at the end of the day, like if you can help more people because of this business, like it's just one of those situations where
It's the best of both worlds.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I drive a nice car.
I don't.
I don't.
So please bring some more people our way.
I have not
can help more
taken
people.
I have
Yeah.
not taken a salary from
She
her.
has not
No.
taken. She has.
That's awesome.
that's
No.
amazing.
Well, I want to. I have paradigm issues. We can talk about that. I have
Yeah.
money issues.
No,
I want to make money.
So to find you, then would it just be the website, Google, or you have like
Yeah,
all of that.
you can look up the Wellness Center South Ogden or the Wellness Center Huntsville. You can go to our website, thewellnesscenter.life. You can look us up on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, or Twitter now. We're
Yeah,
on Twitter
X.
X?
Oh.
Yeah.
now. Yeah, or whatever.
Have to Elon.
Yeah, just the Wellness Center.
Yep.
You can see our power flower on any of it. That's just our logo, is what we call it. You can contact us, info@thewellnesscenter.life, or you can call us at 801-800-2484.
Awesome.
Awesome.
And then that's wellness, but also HannahsHope. Like if you know people that need help, like how do they reach out? Because do you guys have? I guess it's a question. Like with the Lives HannahsHope, is there resources that you help
Yeah,
when kids are struggling? If you
Absolutely.
notice kids are struggling and stuff like that.
it's who I am.
Yeah.
It's what I do. And so, LiveHannahsHope.org.
Okay.
So live Hannah's, and it's HANNAHS HOPE.org.
Yeah, just want to make sure we don't forget about how they find it, because that is something that.
Oh, you'll put it in your.
Yeah.
Oh, we definitely will.
Okay.
It's something huge.
So
Yeah,
can I do
mhm.
one last thing?
Of course.
Love to.
Okay. The movie.
Oh yeah, no, because of.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Hashtag because
before,
of.
so I'll preface before we started this this episode, we were talking to Laura and just learning. And I've known the story for a long time, but hearing more of the details, and just a way to really proactively reach out to children and help them connect to this story. Laura has a movie idea, and I think we
We gotta hear it out.
we got to hear it out.
So excited.
Go ahead.
Okay. So what I want to do and what I'm going to do, it's just a matter of who's out there that's going to help me do it. So come on. I've got a script kind of written. Of course, it's not professional, but I know there's somebody out there that can do it, even with the writers on strike. But I want to do a movie called #Because of, about a young girl that wakes up one day and finds that her best friend in high school has just died of suicide, and all the things that she goes through with that. And I want this to be not a documentary, but based on true story, based on true facts about what I went through. So she'll live my story, and she's going to go through all the difficulties of having to talk to the school and the old timers basically saying, no, we don't talk about this because it creates suicide, and facing all those and addressing all those issues that don't even exist anymore, and that's actually anti-prevention. And then it goes into her reaching out to senators and to legislators and passing bills and making changes and creating a Hope Squad at her school, and how she pulls people together of all groups, all people. I don't want this to be any special group except for kids that are suicidal. So in this Hope Squad, I want her to bring together kids that decide they want to talk. They're gay, they're straight, they're black, they're white, they're whatever they are, all of them. And then how she goes about making changes, and how this group of kids go about talking to each other and helping one another, and how they're changing the view. And then we insert QPR principles and resilience principles, and we teach all those things. It's an anti-13 Reasons film. Folks, 13 Reasons actually increase suicide. I was absolutely devastated by that show. So this is just the opposite. So if you feel inspired, I want you to contact me, because I'm ready to go. And I've got the nonprofit, and I know that movies want to be profitable, and that's good. We can somehow use the nonprofit to allow people to donate and have a tax write-off. That would be awesome. However we want to do this, let's do this. I'm ready to do this. I do want it to make a lot of money. I want it to be a blockbuster. I want it to open up across the country. That's what it deserves.
Yeah, thank you so much. I
Yeah,
agree.
thank
That'd
you
be
for letting me do
incredible.
that.
I'd love to see
I-
Wasatch first help with that.
Yeah, I
That'd
would
be
love
great.
to see something like that. And he does that.
That'd be amazing.
You would.
And I get people that tell me they're inspired and they want to help, and then they disappear. So, and
Well, you have it on recording.
Yeah.
let's go. Let's do this. And can you imagine all the kids that could be involved in it?
Yeah, I know.
You know? Oh, and then, what's the guy that wrote the song?
Colby Farron?
You know Colby? Do you remember
Yeah,
Colby
Colby.
Fred?
I graduated high school with Colby.
Okay, so yeah,
Good
Colby and Hannah were really close.
Yeah.
And when he got home from his mission, he's LDS, when he got home from his mission and he came to see me, he was devastated. He really thought, like all people that knew Hannah, thought if they had just done one more thing, they
Well,
could
he thought he was going to marry her.
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
I can't tell you how many guys showed up and they were like, man, I was going to marry Hannah.
oh,
Probably
gosh.
10 or 12 dudes.
yeah,
I just would look at them and be like, I'm so sorry.
yeah.
You know,
That's
but
pretty
it's really
inappropriate
how
for
they
them to say.
felt. And Colby was special. There was something about him that just was different. Well, he writes songs, and he has a song out, and it's called Happy. And it's out on all formats. And it's Hannah's song. And he tells about how he wanted to write a song that told everybody what it was like to lose Hannah's light. And he said he was in the shower one day, and he said, all of a sudden Hannah came through, and he said, I what do you want? You know, I don't know what to write about. She goes, well, I don't want a sad song. Make room for light.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, and so you should hear this song.
Yeah,
I'll send it
listen
to
to
you.
it.
I'll send you
Yeah, that
everything.
sounds amazing.
Yeah, and so can you imagine at the very end of this movie, you know, big stadium of kids, singing this song about making room for light.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, it just gives me chills.
Yeah,
So let's do this.
yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
So I wanted to wrap this up too by just, again, like I've known you both for years, but both of you have been like excellent leaders in my little community of Eden, Utah. And Eden for me was a life save. You know, I ran away from home when I was 12, moved there with my dad, and all the people I met there saved my life. That's literally what I say. And both of you are massive leaders in my life. So thank you for leading LiveHannahsHope and the Wellness Center as well. And super proud of you, Chase. We both grew up. I think you grew up a little bit better than I did.
I don't know. I
You
don't
sound
know.
sciencey. So
Science don't mean good.
yeah, well, I think it's cool.
You're a stud, dude.
Yeah, but I appreciate you both very much. And once again, thank you to Peachy Atomic and Eric Lichtenberg. We always need to have the guy with the hat, the earmuffs, and the beard in the background give me a thumbs up. And then Dalton Granger. It's always a privilege to have him here. He always asks the most, just honestly, the curiosity that you bring to the table is always great. And I appreciate that. So
Yeah. There's a guy here that I bet would come in and talk.
Yeah, pretty phenomenal story.
oh, really?
You want to hear it? And
Up
you
to
can
you.
you can always edit it out later if you really wanted to.
I got time.
Welcome everyone back. So as we were having a conversation with Laura Warburton and Chase Warburton, who's still here with us, Chase, they wanted to introduce us to their friend Tyler. And it sounds like Tyler has a pretty compelling story of his experience here with the Wellness Center and your connection to Laura and to Chase. So Chase, do you want to introduce Tyler and then we'll go from there?
Yeah, absolutely. Tyler's my guy.
Yeah, he's got the beard to prove it.
No, so-
Much better than all of us.
Well, see, I am very envious of his beard. But no, so Tyler, he really cool dude, came to us quite a while ago and has just been coming here and doing the red light therapy. I don't want to take any of the spotlight from him. I think his story honestly is, while it's slow, it's steady, it's really cool to see some of the differences as he's talked about it to me personally. And he's actually grown to be a really close friend of mine, someone that I really appreciate, an endearing person. We talk about so much stuff when he comes in. I remember just yesterday he came in and was telling me how he like personally took time out of his day to come in and just hang out and talk for a little bit. And his wife was texting him and just saying, "Hey, how's your chase time?" Oh no, Tyler is a good dude. So yeah, this is Tyler, everybody.
Yeah.
Hi. yeah, that's me.
Oh, we put him on the spot,
Yeah,
by the way. He was
unexpected.
leaving and we just yelled at him.
Right, yeah. Come on in here, right? Yeah. No, so I don't know how much you guys want to know, but so my wife actually, you're going to laugh. Chase knows this. She was fed up with me. It's been almost 7 years. I got an accident. I was playing basketball, facial fracture, broken nose,
damn.
the whole, vision loss, things like that. And I have tried so many different, I've seen like vitamin specialists, different neurologists. I've had a surgery.
We were number 19, right?
Yeah, number 19 of
gosh.
all different things. Like there was a place that you go and I guess you get a hair plucked and they can like test and see what's wrong, or I don't know, it's weird vitamin deficiencies. I don't know, just seeing if there was something I was missing, low testosterone, none of that, but you could test for them. We were sitting there getting ready for bed. My wife popped on social media of some sort. I don't know what it was. Right. And everyone's heard of your Fox.
The Fox 13. Yeah.
Yes. Article.
About the
report.
athletic concussion program we
Yeah.
were talking about. We got
Yes.
featured on Fox a while ago and his wife saw it.
Yes. So, and I don't remember the night. It was that night she said, "Hey, let's jump on and see if we can get an appointment with these guys." And I just laughed. Right. I'm like, it's so cool because we don't live too far from here. And we kind of looked it up and I think we got in like the next day or the following day. And it was so random because there are quite a few people that work here.
Mm-hmm.
And it just happened to be that I come in the time that I got to meet Miss Laura and Chase at the same time.
The two owners.
Yeah.
I got double whammied. It was like, this is going to work for you. And, Chase, I was super skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wasn't having it, right? Before I went in, Laura pulled me aside and said, "This is how it works." And so she explained everything to me where it made me comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went in, I did a session, and pretty much from that time on, it took me a little bit to kind of maybe realize and acknowledge and admit to myself that it's working. It took a while.
Yeah.
But now that I've crossed that threshold,
Mhm.
you know, it's been a lot of questions. Chase has been, again, my go-to guy. He probably doesn't like all the questions I've asked
I
him.
love Tyler and all the questions he's asking me.
But yeah, like I said, I started coming in May, and I'd come, 5-6 times a week.
Really?
Wow.
And yeah, but I don't know, again, if it's more of a mental hurdle again,
Mhm.
but I got crazy kids at home. And so it's not like my life is just this perfect thing, but it has helped me get through these hard times.
Wow.
Wow.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
We were
Yeah.
just saying earlier, it's fascinating how people will go to tanning beds and how they'll go get x-rays and they'll do radiation, but for some reason they don't, this seems out of pocket, out of the
I didn't understand what red light was
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't think if it wouldn't have been for these guys
Mhm.
sitting me down, showing me this is how it's helping you. It's not hurting you.
Mhm.
So even if it didn't work for you, it's not going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's no bad, like they said, zero side effect. It's not bad for you. Why not try it out?
Right.
And now it's helped you get over a lot of hardships that you had. I mean, that sounds like a pretty crazy injury for basketball.
Yeah.
More or less UFC, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might as well have been.
And
Yeah.
one. That was a really big and one.
Yeah.
It was an and one, actually.
Oh, nice, nice.
I had to throw that in. But yeah.
Worth it.
So that's cool,
Cool.
though. And so you've been coming ever since now, and you really, it's helped you a lot. It sounds
It
like.
is. Yeah. It's, my wife, she, kind of like how Chase was joking, enjoy your chase time.
Mhm.
All jokes aside, it is something that she's like, if you need that time,
Mhm.
go be with them and get yourself better. Because I need you at home.
Yeah.
You need to be with the kids. You need to work. You need to
Mhm.
get back to being who you used to be.
And go ahead.
Wow.
Sorry.
He
Chase.
needed his brain back.
Yeah.
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 And so it really did help. Like you noticed, I mean, it doesn't fix you like a broken leg fixes you. You recognize, you said you had to recognize it and understand that it really was helping you get up in the day kind of a thing and get going.
Exactly. It got my energy back, and just so I could do my daily me,
Yeah.
who I am. Because like you just said, that was exactly how my neurologist referenced it. He's like, it's not like you have a broken leg.
Mhm.
You cannot see it being healed.
Yeah.
It will take time, and this is what is
That's awesome.
helping me.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's amazing to hear. Thanks
Thanks for sharing your
Yeah,
story. Yeah, it's
seriously.
nice to see. I know.
Oh, but that's like a
Thanks.
genuine smile. You could
Yeah.
tell this really has had a big impact.
Well, I'm here. These guys are my friends.
Yeah.
Love them.
I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah, they're good people.
Thanks for impromptu walking in and sharing that story. Getting cornered. So, well, thanks, Chase. Laura's doing work somewhere, and thanks, Tyler. Tyler, right?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for coming in and appreciate it. And I think we're
Yeah.
okay.
You know the sign off.
Cheers. Keep
I'm waiting.